Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Grabowski, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up? It is Tuesday night, another Tuesday night again. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Yeah, this is MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by kgradb.com. Make sure you like, thumbs up, and subscribe. They have amazing content. We are always brought to you by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Grabowski. I am Colorado MUFON State Director, as well as the MARS Administrator. MARS is the MUFON Research Redacting System. We took all those old cases and we digitized them and redacted all the sensitive information. And we're hopeful that someday it'll be available for all of the researchers out there. So I also want to mention that symposium in Denver this July. I hope that you guys sign up. And we have great speakers. We have Paul and Joel Hynek, and they're going to be talking about what it was like growing up with J. Allen Hynek, growing up with the UFO subject in their household all the time. So I hope that I see you out in Denver. We're going to have a great time. Tonight, we have a great guest for you tonight. We have James C. Goodall, Jim Goodall. I can't wait to learn. I have so much to learn from him because I don't know a lot about aviation and aircraft, so I can't wait to get to him. Katie Cook couldn't be with us this week. She is rocking it out at a concert, so I hope she's having a great time tonight. But I would love to bring on my co-host, Chris DePerno, New York State Director. He's also part of the ERT, and he has a special friend with him as well. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how are you? Hey, listen, Jerry and I want to just say that we can't wait to talk to Jim Goodall. He is the best historian for aviation there is in the world. This guy done it, seen it, and wrote about it. Unbelievable man. He's written, I think, 27 books, and now he's getting into submarines and naval stuff. Oh, man, I'm telling you, what a show we're going to have tonight.
Yeah, I know it. And I love Jerry's backwards hat. That's so funny.
Yeah, Jerry's in the hood.
Jerry's in the hood. That's awesome. Well, Katie Cook usually kicks us off with her meme and her paranormal pop. And so she graced us with a video. So Amanda, if you want to roll Katie's video, get us.
Hey guys, I like to start things off with a meme of the week. Check this one out. This is from my friend LP. She sent this one in to me, and well, this one's kind of funny but true. For those of you just listening, it's a couple aliens, and one of them's making the why face. And it says, aliens watching season 2022 of Earth, and it went from pandemic to World War III in less than 2 episodes. Kind of sad, but true, right? All right, and next up we have our paranormal pop of the week that my cat Jupiter here is trying to eat. No, Jupiter, not the pop for you. The pop for the people, not you. Look at this. How cool is that? It's a Bigfoot head with red glowing eyes, and it's actually white chocolate, even though it looks like chocolate. And yeah, he looks menacing, but I can promise you he smells very sweet. And look, this is like a solid piece of chocolate here. You just got to love that guy. All right, Jupiter, I'll give it back to you now. You can order those, as always, at paranormalpops.com. I found a really cool product for us this week. This one comes to us from Wayfair. I haven't done Wayfair in years, actually. I was really surprised to see how cool their products are these days. And this is a UFO chandelier. I think I need this in my house. And then finally, Angelia Shear, our precious Angelia, a few days ago was her birthday. So I thought, as a happy belated birthday, I wanted to remind everybody of her awesome book, UFO Encounters: How High Strange Events Transform Human Perception. I love this book. It's just full of witness accounts. I mean, I've like dog-eared almost every page. Really great stories in there, and I think you guys really enjoyed that. So I just wanted to give you a reminder of that book. Again, you can find that on Amazon. All right, back to you guys.
Thank you, Katie. We miss you.
Oh my
Love
God.
the chandelier and the paranormal pop gorilla. I think it's too cool looking to even eat it. But if you did eat it, I'm sure you'd have the.
No, I want to get a big one. I want to get a big one of those paranormal pop things and glue it to the ceiling of my wife's bedroom there. And then when she wakes up, she could see that face. I mean, wouldn't that be a great idea? Yeah, I think that's cool, man. I tell you what, she's got to make me a big one like that. I could put it right up there, and next thing you know, she'll be yelling and screaming.
You have this little evil streak, and I have to say I have that too. When my daughter was young, maybe 12, 13 years old, she was afraid of grasshoppers. So I found a picture of a grasshopper and did that very thing. I think I scarred her for life.
Yeah, I mean, just let it kind of float in the ceiling in front of her, make some noise underneath the bed, like, I'm coming to get you.
That's too funny.
All right.
Man. All right, Chris, what do you got for the news this week?
The news this week, I got a couple of great stories. Jerry and I have been working on this all week. All right. Our first story is the Earth is actually a disputed reservation of 6 alien races. People have reported hundreds of sightings, abductions, and firsthand accounts of alien interaction that have allowed scientists to distinguish a variety of alien creatures that have worked with the military forces to choose our fate without consulting us. Abductions, encounters, I don't know. The only thing they haven't done yet is come down for a barbecue, but we'll see. These are claims that are supported by all kinds of historical texts and abduction survivors. So let's start with the short grays. Jerry, you want to take this part? Okay. So the grays are known as from Zeta Reticulum and are well-known extraterrestrials that are commonly depleted in mainstream media. For some reasons, these little guys are the ones who oversee the bulk of the abductions by extraterrestrials, which means they're the worker bees. They're the guys that everybody gets mad at. They rarely speak except with telepathy. They are believed to be genetically engineered of some kind of labor race. I don't know. Maybe they ought to have a union. They're having that much problems. They are believed to be soulless and vicious. Good luck with that one. Jerry, you're bumped out. Anyways, the next are the Syrians. The Syrians are from Sirius star system and are as advanced as they are ancient. These are responsible for the pyramids, ancient temples, etc., etc. Supposedly, they provided medical and astrological expertise to the Egyptians. Also, the Mayans claim to have a special relationship with aliens, and this may be the Syrians. They could have done a lot better than what they did. Anyway, scientists now believe they play a much more passive role, and as they shared secret and exotic weapon information as well as time travel. If they shared time travel, we would have known what was going on in Ukraine. Who knows? Next is the tall grays. The tall grays are about 7 to 8 feet tall and are the short guys' masters. They can't come in my house because the ceilings are too low. They are considered ambassadors of most battles between human and alien forces. Supposedly, they come from the Orion constellation. They oversee all abductions and human experiments, but they are seldom seen. It is believed that the tall grays want to establish a human-gray hybrid race to take over the Earth. Listen, folks, the way things are going, they can have it. Let's start with Russia. How about that? The tall grays are considered us as their personal property. Go figure that one. Next are the reptilians. The reptilians are said to be native to Earth. The reptilians are believed to be abandoned by another species called the Alpha Draconians. Shape-shifting powers, they are believed to be in almost every aspect of human life. They are believed to commit the vast bulk of crimes against humanity. We will never know. Next up is the Anunnakis. The Anunnakis are believed to be established on the planet we know as Nibiru, or Planet X, or whatever you want to call that big-ass rock out in the middle of space. The Anunnakis first came to Earth to colonize it. Yeah, you know what I mean. They wanted the gold and developed the human force as their personal workforce, mining the gold. It is also believed the Anunnakis and the Alpha Draconians are in a direct battle for the humans. Good luck. Next is the Alpha Draconians. Now, listen, folks, before I start with the Alpha Draconians, look at this ugly bastard. Let me tell you something. I am no Chippendale dancer. But, folks, let me tell you something. Girls, if you wake up and you see this next to you, you better quit drinking and run like hell. Holy crap, is this thing ugly. The Alpha Draconians are believed to be real bad guys, and the oldest reptilian race in the galaxy. They are also the most corrupt and ruthless. Their home world is unknown. They lay eggs for their birthing process. They stand about 14 to 22 feet tall, weigh about 1,800 pounds. Yeah, go ahead and try to fight with one of those. Supposedly, they also have tails and wings. This bunch of yahoos are the masterminds behind the oppression in the galaxy. They look at us as second-class species. So, hey, Amanda, what do you think of this? Let's roll that video.
Do the accounts of modern-day encounters with extraterrestrials support the notion that the reptilians are just one of numerous alien races that have been influencing events on Earth dating back thousands of years? And if so, do they each have their own agenda for humankind?
Clearly, what we are being told here is that in the ancient times, there was a battle for control over Earth and indeed the destiny of humanity.
Ancient astronaut theorists often think that there were several kinds of extraterrestrials who were coming to the planet and fighting wars over which extraterrestrial race would nurture humans and bring them along to the point where they are now.
The idea that there's been warring factions of ETs trying to have control over the human race or the world in general goes way into the past. We have to wonder if they weren't all doing genetic experimentation.
If human DNA was manipulated by extraterrestrials, as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, might this have been done by various alien races?
A number of abductees have claimed that they've been subjected to genetic experiments by reptilian aliens who are looking at them and their DNA for ongoing research of creating, say, a future human.
It seems reasonable to assume that if we, human beings, are now experimenting with animals, doing genetic experiments, that if we have a higher culture to us scientifically, an older culture, they may have been drawing us in as their experimental stock. Could Earth have been actually populated a long time ago as an actual zoo? In other words, could we have other alien beings always coming down to Earth because Earth is their science workshop?
So are we a giant hotel or a Disney World for aliens? What do you think, Katie?
Well, where do we get this information? Or is this coming from contactees and abductees and just basically channeling the information, what kind of species they are, where they're coming from? And it's just sort of this consensus.
It's a smorgasbord of information.
Right. I mean, I guess there's a lot of, I think you hit all the most common encounters that people have, abductees and contact have, the reptilians, the tall grays, the short grays. And I remember when I first got into this field, I was always looking for the blue ones because my memories or whatever are of the blue ones. So I was happy to see.
Are you talking about the blue chickens?
Those are the, what were they called? Ratier and the blue avions. The blue avions, that's what they were called. But they were the Palladians. Yeah. Yeah, the Palladians. So I don't know. I mean, are there, when you start counting how many species there are there 2? Are there 7? Are there 20? Are there 100? It's all very interesting. I find it interesting.
Look how big the universe is. If you think we only have 2 or 3 species living out there, man, we got to have so much more. I mean, they've discovered all kinds of exoplanets that have life capability on it so far, just in our galaxy alone. So if that's the case, who's to say, galaxies far away from us, have people on it? And maybe some of them, it looked like, we've been told that they're walking among us. Right. I mean, really credible people have said, hey, there's aliens here walking among us, and they look just like us. You wouldn't tell the difference. So
right. And we do have those occasional ones that come up that look very different, like the elephant nose ones, and even the ones at the Colorado Ranch with the tubes and the helmets. And so I just don't want any spider looking ones.
I know, but my wife has always been asking, is there any ones that look like Chippendale dancers? She goes, I want to meet those. And I said, no, honey, I haven't seen. I'll try to get you a draconian if I could, but I can't get you a Chippendale dancer. So, I mean, we're out of there.
The reptilians get a bad rap. I don't know. What's the next story?
Let's go with the next. All right, this is incredible, and this is true. The Russian space chief and Scott Kelly, a former NASA astronaut, attack each other on Twitter, calling each other a moron and a child. I don't know what colleges they went to, but man, this is crazy. Okay. Former NASA astronaut Scott Kelly got into a Twitter spat with Russia's top space official Dmitry Rosagin in Roscosmos, or whatever the hell their Russian thing is. Kelly suggested Rosagin find a job at McDonald's. Oh, God, can you imagine this guy who's got a former astronaut, the head of it, flipping burgers at McDonald's? Go figure. And Rosen invited Kelly to get a brain exam. These online insults are just one example of crumbling space relations between Russia and the U.S. Kelly holds the record for the longest U.S. spaceflight after spending nearly a year on the International Space Station in 2015 and 2016. Now he's retired and he's using his platform to criticize Russia's invasion of Ukraine, publishing tweets in Russian about the war daily since February 27th. On Sunday, Kelly tweeted directly to Rosagin, who had shared a video of workers passing over U.S. and Japanese flags. They're covering our flags up on the space thing, on the rocket. If it weren't for these flags and foreign currency that they bring, your space program would not be worth a single egg, Kelly wrote in Russian. Maybe you could find yourself a job working at McDonald's if McDonald's still exists in Russia. It's alleged that Rosagin tweeted back, "Get off, you moron. Otherwise, the death of the ISS will be on your conscience." Demon, why did you delete this tweet? You don't want everyone to see how you are just a child, Kelly wrote in Russian, calling Rosagin by his nickname for Dmitry. Dmitry writes back, "Mr. Scott Kelly, you needlessly provoked me," he wrote in English. "I will not allow you to behave like that with me. You are defiant and destructive. Perhaps the dementia and aggression that you have developed is a consequence of your overload and stress of 4 flights in space. I invite you to undergo an examination at the Brain Institute of Federal Medical and Biological Agency." That's the same one Putin went to. Rosagin is also beefing up with Elon Musk. He's beefing with Elon Musk, of all people, and prominent astronomer Jonathan McDonald. Rosagin has gotten into several Twitter spats with the both of them. Amanda, let's check out that video.
Прощай, уже вдали встает заря, и день приходит в города. Прощай, под белым небом января мы расстаемся навсегда. Прощай, ничего не обещай и ничего не говори, а чтоб понять мою печаль, смотри. И вдруг погасли 2 звезды, но лишь теперь понятно мне, что это были я и ты.
This is not good. I mean, it's hilarious.
The reason they made that video is to tell the Americans that they're saying, "Screw you, we're leaving your astronaut behind." They're saying, "See you later.
They're gonna kick.
We're jumping in the pod and taking off, and you're stuck." They're not going to give him a ride home. That was the meaning of the video.
Okay. Do several countries own the ISS together? Like who? I don't know a lot about the ISS.
The Russians have that part of it. We have our part. They've got like 2 or 3 astronauts up there now. We got 1. And they're saying, the hell with this. We're going to take our piece and go home.
Or maybe...
I don't know the whole thing about the ISS, but they're talking about defunking it.
Oh, my goodness. Or maybe they're going to boot the Russian out and he'll be out floating in space. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. It's 3 against 1. So that's
what I'm saying. 3 against 1.
I would definitely be calling NASA right now and asking for an Uber driver and get my ass off that space station before they leave me behind. All right.
in all seriousness, I'm glad they're standing up for the Ukraine, and what a mess. Oh my gosh, but it is hysterical. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just the craziness that you would say, okay, we're in a pity pat fight with you. We're going to leave your astronaut up in space, and we're all going to come home. And maybe Jerry will give him a ride. Urbu driver. We'll see.
Gosh.
All right. Well, that's the news for the week.
Okay. Really good. I really like the alien news, and that last story was good too. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. So case of the week this week. So I told you guys a couple shows ago that I'm actually going right to the field investigators and doing little videos, but I'll just give you the basics, and then Amanda will run the case of the week, and I have a short video and some photos to show. So it's case number 120656. It occurred January 31st, 2022, Melbourne, Florida at 6:13 exact time, and it was closed as an unknown UAV. And this was a rocket launch, and it's really interesting. I think it's a great case. So, Amanda, if you want to run the video of the FI, and then we'll run the video of the case.
Everyone, my name is Sabrina Robb, and I am a field investigator for the state of Florida MUFON. I had a case very recently, had to do with a launch of a SpaceX rocket out of the Cape on the 31st of January of this year. It was extremely interesting because there appears to be something following along with the rocket as it takes off. About a minute into the video, after the launch, you can see that it actually follows the rocket for a little bit, and then at some point, it's on top of the rocket, and then it just shoots away about a minute later. There's no reason for any aircraft or anything else to be in the area of a launch, because all launches from the Cape come with a self-destruct package on board. If a rocket trajectory happens to go off course, the first thing they're going to do is destroy the rocket. The blast wave would absolutely destroy any aircraft that were in the vicinity. So, and plus this vehicle does not act or look like any normal aircraft that you would expect. I see no tail. I see no engine. I see no wings. It's just very unusual. Now, I'm a 22-year Air Force veteran, retired Air Force officer, and the person who was the witness who took the video is a 69-year-old retired Air Force NCO. He happens to be living in Melbourne area, which is not too far from the Cape, about 25 miles away, and he has watched every launch that he could. So he tells me. That being said, I want you to know what he does, or what he did do for the Air Force. We all know what Delta Force is. We all know what the SEAL team is. The Air Force has something very similar called PJs. Stands for Pararescue Jumpers. They are the most highly trained individuals in the Air Force. Their one and only job, is to rescue downed pilots. They'll go into enemy territory, risk their own lives to rescue a downed pilot. Their motto, that others may live. This individual had 20 years in the Air Force. Plus, when he did retire to the area, he went to work as an operations manager down at the Cape. So he got to see a lot of launches up close. What I find fascinating, in all the launches he's seen in 28 years, not once did he see anything unusual except for this launch. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a physicist, but I tried my best to make that object something terrestrial in nature, and I could not. I guess the only problem I have with the case, his video shows the sky as very bright, almost daytime. Now, the launch was at 1811 and sunset at 1801. All the other videos that I have observed of the launch show a dark sky. But I also noticed that all the other videos concentrated on the engines, and they were all zoomed in onto the launch vehicle. And perhaps the lens flare is what caused the dark sky in the NASA and the SpaceX videos, the official videos. I did ask the witness several times, are you confident that this was the launch of 31 January? And he was most confident that it was, for the simple reason of he had never seen anything like it before in his life.
Interesting.
Wow.
What I love about this case is the quality of our witnesses here and our field investigator as well. So, Amanda, I had to shorten this video because it was quite lengthy. So the first video is the original video the witness sent, but I kind of cropped it. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for 10 minutes. So, Amanda, if you want to roll video 1.
It's supposed to head this way. So it's doing right along the coast. So it should come pretty close to coming right overhead. And it is. It's going just about overhead. I don't know if you can see this. There's something flying next to it. I don't know if I can get it in the frame or not, but it really doesn't look much like an airplane. There's the separation. That booster's supposed to land on land.
Okay, the second video I zoomed in and I slowed it down so you could see it better. It's really unusual how it comes into the frame. When you're looking at it on a big screen, you can see this, how it just kind of comes into the frame. It's really unusual. So Amanda, if you want to run video 2. Okay. And then I have a couple still shots. So photo 1, there we have it. Photo 2, that's a close-up. And photo 3. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I see the propulsion, the first part of it, you see the exhaust coming from the one thing, and you don't see any type of exhaust from the other, which is kind of unusual because I don't think they're that far apart. So if you had one that was using probably ordinary, jet fuel or whatever, and you have that stream as an exhaust, if it was something that, was similar to what was there, you would have the same type of exhaust. That's very mysterious to me.
Yeah, I mean that's the rocket going off, and that's the first question I had for the FI. I'm like, well, do they film? Do they have drones up there filming the launches? And I guess they like close off the airspace and they close off the ocean underneath, because if something were to happen to that rocket, so there's like no fly zones around there, no fly zones beneath, and they don't send up drones or anything like that.
That's a good question for Jim Goodall,
So,
I guess.
yeah, maybe he'll have some.
They do have drones that film that, because you could see that thing wasn't moving very, very much. It was more or less in a still position, and also it kind of maintained its own orbit. The thing I'm thinking about, if it was a drone or something like that, maybe it would have backed up, maybe it would have moved at a different angle. Maybe it would have gone, in a large circle to get a full view of it from different angles. I mean, you want to get different angles of the rocket launch to see it from different angles and stuff. But I don't know. That's a Scooby-Doo mystery to me.
Scooby-Doo. All right. So did you catch up with Bob Spearing?
I did. Yep. And Bob got us another one of those.
Mystery
He's not going to tell us till later kind of videos, but he was great. Amanda, would you roll that?
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing. I'm MUFON's Director for Investigations on the international side. And the past several weeks, I've been showing you guys some videos we have under consideration for our Cases of Interest presentation at the symposium in Denver this coming July 8th. Because we're still working on them and because we would like you to go to the symposium, I'm not going to give you any dispositions of these cases. I'm going to show you the video and let you decide what it may or may not be. This video comes from Orlando, Florida from December, and it shows some comet-like objects descending from the sky. And with that, we'll play the video and let it go there. Take it away.
Another one. Those are not planned. See that, right? Tell me what that is.
Still there.
Yeah, they just popped up there. What in the world, man? That's you. That's the unidentified flying object, because I don't know what.
And there's a plane up there in top left.
Yeah, there's a plane there, but that is
Like
not.
the lights keep going on, they reignite.
See? Yeah, he's closer.
He's dropping down.
He's way down over the city, and he's going down. Hey, Mo, look at the sky. One just dropped over the town. There was like 4 or 5 of them. I don't know.
Well, what was that all about? We see a plane up in the upper left-hand corner, and we have these comet-shaped objects descending, disappearing, reappearing. Now, you may be a little confused because there's also the spotlights in the video that are reflecting off the camera lens, and they're those shaky groups of bluish lights. That's just an optical effect. What we're concerned about is what were the comet-shaped objects that were swirling down. And to find out the answer, you're just going to have to go to the MUFON Symposium and see our Cases of Interest presentation. The symposium is this July 8th through the 12th, and we hope to see you there. I'd like to thank Chris for letting me show you this video, and hopefully I'll be back next week with more for you.
Yay, I finally know the answer to one, but I guess I'll keep it secret. I'm pretty positive I know what that is. And maybe some of our listeners do too.
All I know about that video is if I was their mother to those guys, I'd be washing their mouth out with soap. There's so many beeps in there. Yeah, every 4-letter word you could think of, they were screaming it.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I was laughing my head off at that. Okay, so last week, Katie made this great video of her making an alien out of her nose, and she was asking people all week on Facebook to post their videos. So Katie, the other night, this is for you. I made a little video. Amanda, if you want to roll that, and then we're going to get Jim on here. The blue ones. Only for Katie would I do that. Oh my goodness.
I was gonna do one, but I wanted to do it on my rump, and I can't find two moles I could make the eyes to. So I'm gonna cut out of this contest. I mean, I just First of all, look at the size of this schnoz. It would take how much makeup just to make an alien face on that monstrosity I got there. That's number one, and number two, I don't know. You know what? I make one and snot would come flying out.
No. My nose didn't make as cute of an alien face as Katie's did either. I'm like, everybody's noses make different types of aliens. Goes along with your news story. Anyway, Let's get Jim Goodall in here. I'm going to read his bio and then we're going to bring him on. I can't wait. Okay. Jim Goodall is a retired Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. He is a world-renowned military writer, historian, and expert on the SR-71 Blackbird and Area 51. Jim is an aviation and science writer of over 29 books. He is a former associate curator of the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and was associated with the Museum of Flight in Seattle. Jim was a friend of Ben Rich, the former president of the Lockheed Skunk Works, and spoke with Mr. Rich at least once a quarter for over 25 years. Among the many friends and colleagues of Jim Goodall are Bob Lazar and John Lear. Please welcome Jim Goodall to the show.
Katie,
hey, Jim.
I'm delighted to be here.
Hello, Jim.
Yeah.
Great to have you.
Yeah,
it's great to have you.
We're good to go.
I want to jump right in. How does somebody who's never seen an unexplained or UFO get into this field of ufology? How did you get into ufology?
I mean, I have a passion towards. Let me turn on the light. I don't know if it'll work. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I have a passion for things that our government's doing. I mean, it's my job as an American taxpayer to challenge my government, our government. And one thing led to another. I mean, I started digging, and I ran into people that had experiences with UFOs. Because of my friendship with John Lear, I ended up meeting and becoming friends with Bob Lazar. And it's just one thing led to another. I mean, and anytime you mention Area 51, you sort of goes hand in hand with UFOs and things that go bump in the night. And that's where my focus has always been, things that go bump in the night. What are they? But I'm also, as a military historian, I've also interviewed numerous people who have Air Force pilots and such that have had a direct correlation with UFOs. I mean, a friend of mine he just recently passed away, SR-71 pilot, chased a UFO in the far Western Pacific in the early 70s. If you want me to go into that part, I'll go into that right now.
First, I want to go back a second there,
sure,
Jim, before you go into that, because I want to lead up to that about your military career. First of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Yes.
You're a retired Master Sergeant. And folks, let me tell you something. You don't become a retired Master Sergeant without having together in one duffel bag. So first of all, thank you for your service, Jim.
Yes,
I really
thank you.
appreciate that.
I was honored to be a member of the United States Air Force and the Minnesota Air Guard, both.
Good. And I want to start with your first Blackbird sighting that you saw when you were a two-striper. That kind of made a little shock and stuff, didn't it? When you first saw the
I joined the Air Force because I love airplanes. I grew up not that far away from Moffett Field Naval Air Station. I had the run of the place with the base commander's son, Danny Smith. And just one thing led to another. And I just, when the time came and it was for me to join the air, to go into service, I was a juvenile delinquent. I had a choice on my 17th birthday to shape up and fly right, which probably wasn't going to happen. Go to juvenile hall as an incorrigible youth until I was 18, or join the military. So I took the test to get it, it's a universal test for going into military, whether it's the Marine Corps all the way up to Air Force. And I aced all 5 categories, so I could go into anywhere, any part of it I wanted. And I just, I felt that I wanted to be around airplanes. So my first permanent party assignment was Denver, Colorado, Lowry Air Force Base, which at the time there was nothing east of Lowry. Katie, if you're from the area.
What year? I mean, Space Force now is literally about 4 miles from my house where I live, and now it's Space Force. But what years were you out there?
62, 63, early 64.
Yeah, there was nothing out here then.
But in February of 64, I had already volunteered for Vietnam 7 times. Now I'm a history buff. I'm a historian. I wanted to become a history teacher. Then I realized I would probably have students like myself, and I didn't want to spend the rest of my life on death row. So I decided to do something else. But I got a set of orders in February of 1964 to go temporary duty. It's called TDY, to Edwards Air Force Base for 90 to 120 days. So I arrived there in mid-February. Even back then, Edwards was even more remote than it is today. I mean, it was, from the barracks to the main gate was 18 miles. So if you didn't have a car, you were pretty much isolated. But I was there to support 3 programs for ground-based telemetry, and they were the YC-141 Starlifter. It's now come and gone. It's been retired for years, replaced by the C-17, the North American XB-70 Valkyrie, and then a classified program, which turned out to be the Blackbird. Now, on the morning of February 29th at about 7 a.m., all the fire alarms went off on the flight line. And I had a line badge, but the barracks were 8 miles from the base. The front gate's 18 miles. So I'm a long way I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I jumped in my clothes real fast, ran out to the parking lot, and someone had already taken our truck. So I didn't see the Blackbird. All I heard was all the sirens going off on the flight line. Fast forward 10 days, I had worked a lot of overtime installing telemetry system, and this is all ground-based stuff. And I had 4 days, or actually 3.5 days of comp time for overtime. So I had those days off. And it was March 10th, 1964. I was waiting for the Northrop shuttle, which was a Piaggio Italian airplane. It's a gull wing with pusher props, and it's just 2 rows of seats with a center aisle. I think 10 or 12 passengers. And it went daily between Northrop's facility at Hawthorne, California, which is part of LA, and Edwards. And it just shuttled people back and forth. So they didn't have to spend an hour and a half driving there from Hawthorne. So I heard a roar on the flight line down by the main hangar complex, and I could see dust and debris blowing across Rogers Dry Lake. So I went running down the flight line, the taxiway, and I looked towards the XB-70 test pad. And here's what I thought was the X-15 rocket plane. I mean, fires coming out of it, blowing stuff halfway across Rogers Dry Lake, but the people were too small. And about that time, they said, "Hey, we're loading." So I had to run back up, get ready to get in the airplane, and got in. And fortunately, I was on the correct side of the airplane for this upcoming event. And we took off right over Rogers Dry Lake, and we banked over. And as we banked over, the craft is here. We banked right over it. I'm looking straight down on what is now the world's fastest airplane, the Lockheed Blackbird. This wasn't the SR-71 that everybody's familiar with, or the CIA version, which was a spy plane as well, but it was the interceptor version, the YF-12 interceptor. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, I joined the Air Force because I wanted to see things that Buck Roger would drool about. And sure shooting, there it was.
Wow.
So I was gone for the rest of the week. My grandmother lived in Laguna Beach, and I was going there for have a good time at the beach. So I got back on that following Monday, and I was at the section, and they had me a set of work orders. It was the Lockheed hangar. And I go walk into the back of the Lockheed hangar, and here are 2 blackbirds. Now I'm 18 years old. You can tell by my dark hair that it was just short time ago. But it was almost, it's over 60 years ago, over 50 years ago that I saw these blackbirds, and I could not believe what I was seeing. And here I walk into the back of the Lockheed hangar, and there's 2 of them staring me right in the face. And that was the beginning of my trek that's brought me to where I'm at today. Because it's
amazing that we had things like the blackbird even way back then. I mean, holy cow, right? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, it had only been 15 years since Jaeger went Mach 1 in a rocket-powered airplane, and now there was a requirement, and the requirement was to replace the U-2, and what's ironic, the U-2 is still flying today. But they had there was a need to replace it, and it had Kelly Johnson said in 1958 to replace the U-2, we would have to have a platform that flew between Mach 3 and Mach 4, and that's 750 miles an hour to 2,400 miles an hour, or thereabouts, and at an altitude between 80 and 120,000 feet. What he was doing, he was telegraphing to the world that, oh, by the way, we're building and designing a craft that will fly between 80 and 120,000 feet and go between Mach 3 and Mach 4. Oh, I have one of those too. But she barks when she comes in, so she's not allowed in the office when I'm on.
I got one right down here sleeping.
Yeah, and her name is Scarlett. She's a German Shepherd rescue. She was wandering the streets of Phoenix. They figure for about 1.5 years, the time she was a puppy, and we got her. She's a feral dog. She doesn't respond to her name, but she's the sweetest thing and the most loving thing in the whole wide world. So my passion for the blackbird began on March 10th, 1964, and it only got worse. Yeah. When the first time I got out of the Air Force, I wrote letters to Lockheed, Air Force, CIA, Department of Defense, and the Secretary of the Air Force, asking for, excuse me, 8x10 color glossy in the air of the blackbird, and their official policy was not to cooperate. So I started digging, much like your field investigators do. I started digging. The more I found out, the more I dug. The deeper I dug, the more I found out. And it was like a snowball going down the hill. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And my late friend Ben Rich, who was Kelly Johnson's right-hand man, and Kelly Johnson's the founder of the Skunk Works, and Ben was his right-hand man from its inception. I think Ben just really liked what I did, and we became, in essence, pen pals, not necessarily writing letters, but calling on the phone. And we
So you guys, you and Ben Rich met just by you being inquisitive and trying to dig for information. Is that how you all met?
I was a pain in the butt. That's probably how we met.
Wasn't your first time, was it, Jim?
No, it wasn't. No, I just I have a habit of stepping outside the lines and not playing in the box. I like to step outside the box and see what's happening. And
we're going to talk about a couple of those incidences.
Yeah, and I just, one thing led to another, and over the decades, now this started in March 10th, 1964. It's now March, 12th, 14th, 15th, whatever it is. It's March. And that was 58 years ago. That's a long time ago. And it affected me the rest of my life. And I'm glad it did. I mean, I've met so many wonderful, wonderful friends and people, and I really wasn't heavily involved in UFOs, but I was drawn to it, I think, by fate, and that fate brought me in to become friends with Bob Lazar and John Lear and John Andrews and a ton of other very, very interesting people, and people I feel very comfortable with. So it's just one thing led to another. It's something I've thoroughly enjoyed. I don't keep anything away. If I have some information, you ask me a question, you're going to get the answer. If I have the answer, if I don't have the answer, I'll tell you. but I won't. Someone said, "Well, what are you keeping from us?" I said, "Absolutely nothing, because what I have up here, if I croak, I'm 77. If I croak, it doesn't do you guys any good. So when I see something or I have some tidbit of information, I will share it. I've always been that way, and I'll help anybody out there that I can in working. If they're working on a podcast or they're working on a project and they need some input that I can help with, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm not in it for the fame. I'm not in for the money. That's for damn sure. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've always strived for stuff that really challenges my brain and my way of thinking. And going out in the desert, snooping on our government, chasing down UFO stuff, interviewing people that have had direct involvement with UFOs, just sort of came along with the whole package of, me liking the Blackbird, me liking things that go bump in the night.
All right, listen, Jim, let's talk about something that is extremely interesting to me, because you met Bob Lazar.
Yes.
Now, Bob Lazar has always been a controversial figure. And I got to tell you, at first, I didn't believe this guy. And I go, yeah, all right. He's seeing aliens and he's working on a sports model. He calls it, this is a sports model. But everything Bob Lazar has been saying is now coming true. A lot of this stuff. But you told me something that I had no idea. You told me that he didn't believe in UFOs in the beginning. Tell that story.
Okay, this is early January of '89. I'm at John Lear's in Las Vegas, and we're heading up to the town of Tonopah, up US 95. And we're heading up and just north of Scotty's Junction. And Scotty's Junction is sort of an infamous or famous place in Nevada. It was the home of a legal house of ill repute. Whorehouse is a better name for it. But they were behind in their taxes, and the government took it over, and they ran it out of business. How in the heck can you go broke selling their product? I don't know, but they did. But about 15 miles north of Scotty's Junction, I'm driving, and Lear and I are just out for a road trip, and an F-117 flew right in front of us, and I about crashed the car. And I said, oh my God, they're actually flying the things. They had announced it in November, I think it was November 22nd of 89 or 88, I should say. And this is January of 89. So it had only been 2 months since they announced the existence of the F-117, which I had heard about and knew about since the early 80s. And so we got a quick bite in Tonopah, the town of Tonopah, hit US 6, you go out 14 miles to the Tonopah Test Range, big sign, and you head south 18 miles. We got there and you can see the main gate, the man camp of Tonopah Test Range. That's also referred to as TTR. And so we drive down the public land side. It's called BLM, doesn't stand for anything but Bureau of Land Management. So we're on the public land side of the fence, and you could look down, and you can do it today. Anybody here could drive down to the Tonopah Test Range main gate, follow the dirt road on the north side of the parking lot, and follow it along the fence line, and you too can look down on Tonopah Test Range. It's there for everybody to see, but apparently the mainstream media people wouldn't do it, so they left it up to people like myself. So John and I drive down the fence line about 2 miles. We're looking down, and it's a huge complex. And I look to the north, and on Long Final, I see a big black dot and a little small white dot. And underneath the big black dot was a light, and same with the white dot. So I just assumed that was the F-117 and a chase airplane, which was a Northrop T-38, which it was. Now, back then, this is before digital cameras. So you had to use either Kodachrome 64 or 25 slide film, which is beautiful film. Or if you're shooting print film, Kodacolor 100 was probably the best you could have. And that's what I was shooting with, Kodacolor 100. I had a Nikon with a 200, a nice, very expensive 200 millimeter lens. I didn't have any of the big long ones. They weren't really available for the general public back then. And I'm looking, and I'm getting really excited. And the F-117 is coming into my viewfinder. I mean, it's going small. It's getting bigger and bigger. And I could feel my whole body surging. It was like I was a 10-year-old boy seeing a naked woman for the first time. I mean, my whole body was just going like this. I mean, I could hardly catch my breath, and it flew right over us and landed. And John said, "Hey, we got to get out of here. We got to get back to Vegas as soon as we can, so maybe we can get this stuff processed." So we jump in the car, head back out the 18 miles up to US 6, head down Warm Springs. We turn down the little, we call the extraterrestrial highway. It's Highway 375 in Nevada. And it goes right by Rachel, Nevada, the home of the little alien. Mm-hmm. I first went there in 1987, so I've been going out there for a long time. So we had dinner there with Joe and Pat Travis. They weren't on the world map yet. They were still in an unknown location. So we had a quick bite, and we got back to Lear's house about 9:15 p.m., and all the photomats were closed.
Oh no!
Now, if you're not ancient like I am, photomats occupied a kiosk on shopping center parking lots, much like baristas today.
Right.
But most of them were owned and operated or leased or franchised from Kodak. You come in, you drop your film off on one day, you come back the next day, they process your film, and it's printed.
Right. Well, wait, we're gonna interrupt you right there because it's time for our on the hour break. That's a good place, dropping off your film. I have so many questions about Area 51. We had some adventures out there ourselves. So when we get back, we're going to continue the story on what happens with the film. I have a lot of questions about that. So we will see you back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
missing my dance partner, Katie. We normally, gosh darn it.
We're back.
All right. All right. We are back with James C. Goodall, Jim Goodall. So did you ever get in trouble for taking these pictures out there?
I've been harassed, but I'm on public lands. And if they're flying over me or they're taking off and landing in a place that I can see from public lands, there's nothing they can do. They can jump up and down. They can spit. They can stomp their feet. I got some real funnies of being on the fence line, though. So we're going to go back to, okay, we're at the Little Alien. We're heading back to Las Vegas. We get back to John's house about 9:15. The photomats are all closed. So I'm going to have to wait till the next day. And I'm just, I don't even know if any of them are any good because I was shaking so bad. I mean, it literally was like I was sitting on a jackhammer. I was just going like that. And John said, well, I have a new friend coming over. I think you'll enjoy him. He's here interviewing for a job out in the desert. He doesn't know what. And even if he did, he probably wouldn't tell me. But he is interviewing for a job, and he's moved from Albuquerque. He was with Sandia Labs beforehand. So about 10 minutes after we got there was a knock on the door. Lear went over, answered the door, brought him into his study, and nice looking guy introduces himself as Bob Lazar. I said, "It's nice to meet you." And I told him what my dilemma was, having the print film and having to wait 24 or 36 hours before I can actually see what I had. And he said, well, I have a C41 processing unit at home, because apparently one of his little part-time gigs, he processed print film for local realtors. So we jumped in his car, and we're heading off to Bob's house. And we're about a block from Lear's place, and he looks at me and he says, I really feel sorry for Lear. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, that dumb son of a bitch, he believes in UFOs. I mean, he's from this world famous aviation family. How in the hell can they do that? I mean, my gosh. I said, he said, I'm a nuclear physicist. If I can't prove it mathematically or put my hands on it, it doesn't exist. And said, and you couldn't put a gun to my head to convince me UFOs were real. Oh, really? And I mean, he was dead serious. This wasn't a pretend. This wasn't, I mean, he felt really, really bad about Lear liking UFOs. So that was my first introduction to Bob Lazar. And it's only gotten more interesting as time goes on. And probably, I think Chris, wanted me to talk about this as well.
Well, I want you to go into the thing with because you wanted to check and see if he was legit, right?
Right.
And so you went to go see what, an admiral or a general?
No, I was at the Pentagon during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I was there as a military historian, pulling out everything, regardless of classification. I could see everything, and put it in certain files for certain groups and organizations. I also was there to brief the media. But I had Bob Lazar's W-2 when he worked at S4. I marked out his Social Security number, but I had it in my back pocket, and I had about an hour and a half, 2 hour dead time in the middle of the day. I didn't want to go out to Andrews, where we have other offices, or go to the Ford building in Alexandria. So I figured, well, I'm going to see if I can find the place that paid Bob when he worked at S4. So I'm looking through the Pentagon directory, and there's nothing that has the exact same title as what paid Bob. So I went to something that was close. It was, I think it was Naval Investigative Services or something along those lines. I wish I remembered exactly the title, but it's not important. So I go in. I'm in uniform at the time. I'm a tech sergeant. I'm an E6, and I go in, and there's a young Lieutenant JG behind the counter, the desk, and I handed him the W-2. I said, "Sir, can you tell me where this Navy organization is located?" He looks at it. He said, "Excuse me, Sergeant. I'll be back in just a minute." He gets up, with Lazar's W-2, and he walks into the 2-Star's office. Now, those of you who have been in the military, especially if it's the Navy or the Marines,
oh yeah,
a 2-star admiral is not going to talk to an Air Force enlisted puke unless there was something really, really important to talk to him about. And I was blown away when the Lieutenant JG came out and said, the admiral will see you now. Wow. So I go in there and I give him a real sharp salute, and he says, parade rest. Normally they just say at ease and you're just standing there. So I'm at parade rest, and he's holding up Lazar's W-2. And he said, I don't know where you got this from, but if you ever cross the threshold of my office ever again, you'll be the most sorriest son of a bitch in NCO in the United States military. Do you understand me, Sergeant? I said, yes, sir. And with that, he took Lazar's W-2 and he put it in the shredder.
Oh, wow.
And that right there, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, his comment back when I met him, and then, almost, 8 years later, this 2-star Navy admiral chews my butt out and threatens me if I would ever to come across his threshold again. So if Bob was a fraud, if Bob was a fake, the Lieutenant JG would have had no reason to send me into the 2-Star's office. And it was just one more thing telling me that Bob Lazar is real. His story's never changed. I mean, but again, you couldn't put a gun to his head and convince him that the UFO were real when I first met him before he went to work out in the desert.
Didn't you talk to Edward Teller about him too?
Edward Teller was asked about it. He made no comment. Now, if Bob was a fraud, Teller or Teller's spokesperson, all that person would have to say is, Dr. Teller has never heard or seen anything from this Bob Lazar, and he's a fraud. But no, he didn't. Now, I had a real high clearance for 27 years. I had top secret with other access if I needed it. And unfortunately, maybe it's good or bad, I never really did have access to any really, really spooky stuff. Interesting stuff, yeah, but not spooky stuff. So for Dr. Keller just continue to insist that when he was tied up, and it was no comment. I can't make any comment at all, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with something that's classified, and someone asks you a question about whatever that is that's classified, you can neither confirm nor deny. All you can say is no comment. But if he was a fraud, there was be no reason not to confirm and no reason to deny the fact that he was a fraud, of which he's not. And that was just one of the multiple, many things about Bob Lazar that has led me to believe almost from day one that he is who he says he is. I mean, I've been to his house. We've made fireworks in his garage, and these are commercial grade fireworks. And I think if the people in his neighborhood knew he had about 500 pounds of black powder in his garage. I mean, we're making big, the big ones that shoot up, and I mean, like you go to State Fair or something.
Did you get to play with his machine gun?
Pardon?
Did you get to play with his machine gun?
No.
He had a Mac-10.
I never. I mean, even though I helped on 2 different occasions, helped him make fireworks. My schedule was never allowed me to be there for the weekends when they had Desert Blast. And he wouldn't announce it until 24 hours before the event. And he can get 500 to 1,000 people in there almost instantly. And they do it on a dry lake bed. And one of the more interesting things they did, they had someone from ATF who Bob became friends with, and they had a 32-gallon cardboard barrel filled with fertilizer and diesel fuel. And it was it was out in the middle of the dry lake bed, and it was to emulate what went off in Oklahoma City. And this was just one of the containers, and it knocked everybody on their feet, off their feet when it went off.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, there's just so many things about Bob Lazar that say the man's real. And he's told me a couple different times, he said he regrets ever going public. He said it's been a millstone around my neck since that day I went on with George. I don't regret going on, but I wish I hadn't done it.
Yeah, you went through a lot for so many years. Yeah.
Yeah, and then why he did it with who he did it with, I don't ever know. But when he had the Bob Lazar documentary, and it wasn't really about Bob, it was about Jeremy. But that's a different story. But Bob has stayed real, and the Johns
never changed his story.
Yeah,
no. And George Knapp went to Albuquerque, went to the Sandia Laboratory public access part of their library, and he found a directory when Bob was there. And sure as shooting, there's Bob Lazar, the room number he said he worked in, the phone number he said he had, and the 2 or 3 other technicians that he was working with, it had their names in there as well. The local Albuquerque newspaper did a story about Professor Bob Lazar. You know, during the week, he designs nuclear weapons, and on the weekends to relax, he goes 300 miles an hour in his car.
Rocket car.
Yeah, he has a jet-powered Lamborghini Countach, and it was just a jet car with a fiberglass body on it.
So there was just Toyota Yaris for something like that.
Yeah, it was just it was bright. But here's a picture in the newspaper of Bob standing in front of his jet car. I mean, governments can make you disappear, and Bob Lazar's W-2, Bob Lazar's Social Security number, according to the federal government, never existed. Apparently, he never went to college. I find that amazing because it's been confirmed that he did research at Caltech, and there you had to have at least a master's degree in physics. And I don't have it in my possession yet, but I have about 50 pages of documents, more or less verifying that Bob Lazar is who he says he is.
Well, Jim, let me just interrupt you right there for a second, because I want to tell the listeners that, because some people just don't believe, the government can't do that. Let me tell you something, folks. I learned very quick. I have a friend who's an NCIS agent, just like on the program there, he was like Mark Harmon. And he was sent down to Penn State. This is a little off, but I want to explain how the government can do this. He was sent down to Penn State to investigate the Sandusky thing. Remember, Jim, the Sandusky thing with Paterno and everything? And he found out that whole thing was bogus. And when he wrote his report, and he sent it to the government classified it, kept it shut. He was not allowed to put it out for years. It could not go public because he had found out unbelievable things about this. So it convinced me after my friend told me, Chris, I could never tell you about this, but now I can because it's now out. I went down there investigating. He says the actual president was being investigated because he was consulting with the Central Intelligence Agency. So you're right. These universities can shut things down very quickly.
Right. Yeah. Don't they compartmentalize things? Like they give it to General Electric or Lockheed. I mean, we can't FOIA those places. So that information is kind of, safe.
It's the sleight of hand type of operation where you have 10 different cups. You have the thing you're looking for under one. They keep moving around. Yeah.
Yeah. The walnut trip. Where's the ball?
Right.
I can tell you, Katie's chomping the bits to ask you about Area 51. So I'm going to let her ask you about Area 51.
Sure.
She's dying.
Well, I'm more curious about S4. because through the years and certain individuals, I've learned a bit about S4, and a lot of people. I mean, most people know of Area 51, but not everybody has heard of S4. What can you tell us about S4?
Well, there's 3 points that I'll get to. One, I had a friend of mine. He's still around. A friend of mine that was one of the first Air Force persons on the F-117 program. So he spent 5 years at Area 51, and their security badge really allowed them to go everywhere in Area 51. I mean, in the Nevada test site. With Area 51 being the one that's closed off to 99.99% of anybody who wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a Humvee. There was 2 or 3 of them, and they're bored. Let's go see if we can find some artifacts from the 1800s from wagon trains coming through or whatever. So they're driving around. They drive around the north side of the Papoose Range, and that's the mountain range behind Area 51 that you see in some of the photos. Most of them were mine at one time, and they went all the way around, and they came up on Papoose dry lake bed, and they were looking for glass bottles from the turn of the century, because there's a lot of mining out there, and just stuff. And he said, out of nowhere, no vehicles, out of nowhere, there were a group of black-clad security type people with weapons drawn came out and said, "What are you doing here? And I want to see some ID."
Wow.
So the guy showed them their military ID and their security badge, which allowed them. They weren't breaking any laws, but they were going somewhere that doesn't exist, and they didn't want them there. And they said, You go back to your side of the mountain. You have no business over here." And he did. Mm-hmm. And never really said anything about it until I started ragging on him to tell me more. You were there for 5 years. What did you see besides the F-117 and Have Blue? And that's when he said, well, the only other interesting thing was this particular thing on Papoose Lake. Another incident, and it happened about 2 or 3 years after Bob went public. There was a Mormon missionary. He was a historian, and he was walking the trail of the lost Mormon tribe, and it's sort of he had to stop going and following the trail on the east side as he went through the wildlife preserve, and he got into restricted area. And the government would not allow him access to it. So he decided to come from the other side, the Mercury side, and he snuck in over at night, walked in, found an undercropping, camped out there. He was out there for 2 or 3 days. And one particular night, he's under, again, an undercropping, because they fly over the area with infrared sensors looking for primarily war protesters back then, because we were still doing underground nuclear testing. And this Mormon historian had absolutely no knowledge or interest in UFOs, things that go bump in the night or whatever. And he said that when he was out there, he had to get up and go to the bathroom, and there was out in the distance. When during the day there was nothing there, he looked over and there were lights. It was like someone opening a garage door with bright lights on the inside. He couldn't, too far away to see people, too far away to see anything. And it was open for a short time, and then the thing closed. He went back to sleep. He thought nothing of it. Next morning when he woke up, he looks out there and he sees absolutely nothing to where the lights were. So he just sort of discounted it. And he ended up telling, I'm not sure if it was Gene Huff or one of Bob's friends had heard it and put me in touch with the guy. That's the story he said. And the other one is my friend Dave Fruhoff, who was an SR-71 pilot that chased a UFO, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But when he retired from the Air Force because of his clearance and because of everything he had done in the black world, and that would be the classified world, be the SR-71 program. It was a fairly smooth transition going from a retired lieutenant colonel to being the facility manager at Area 51. And he is responsible for absolutely every single structure within the boundaries of Area 51. And he said that he had seen equipment with designation going to Site S4 or Site 4. And he did ask, based on my request, he got hold of some friends that were there during the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and asked him, said, did you ever run into or see a guy named Bob Lazar or Robert Lazar on one of the red and whites? The red and whites is what they refer to the Janet flights, the white 737s with the red stripes.
Right.
And two guys said, yeah, I remember a guy with that name, but that's all I remember. So did Bob work out there? There's too many things saying, yeah, he did.
Right. So from what I understand, there's several layers to S4, that perhaps there was a live ET kept at S4, and there were several back engineered craft kept at S4. One was this triangle, well, kind of almost like this triangle cube type thing that was actually an alien craft that they couldn't even figure out what it was made of or anything. And then they had one of the Roswell craft which they kind of built a replica on a gimbal. I mean, is there any truth to any of these rumors, and that they have these basically these maybe like garage doors, like your story, that are hidden on the side of that mountain that are camouflaged back there? Do you think there's any truth to those stories?
Bob said when he was there on at least more than one occasion, they had all the interconnecting doors open. And he said there were 9 different craft in there of every shape and size that you can imagine. And a lot of the stuff that that's been reported, those craft were in that hangar complex in the side of the mountain. Now, the United States military has gotten really, really good at hiding things. They've gotten really good at camouflage. So just because you can't see it from a distance or see it from a Google Earth image, maybe we're not dealing with good enough resolution. I don't know, but there's just too many things in there that say that Bob is real, and I've never doubted him. I mean, if something would have come up that proved to me that he's leaving me a line of baloney, then maybe I would have walked away. But that's never happened, and a lot of people try to destroy him. For what reason, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't do our community, would be at the bump in the night spooky thing community. Right. It doesn't do us any good to have someone trashing somebody, especially when they have no evidence one way or the other.
That's absolutely right. Jim, I want to take you to something else now, because we mentioned it, and I love this story about your friend Dave Fruhoff, the SR-71 pilot.
Right.
He actually tried to chase a UFO in an SR-71.
Absolutely.
Tell us that story. That's awesome.
Now, when Dave retired from Area 51, and when he decided life was moving too fast and he was just going to relax, he moved to Lynchburg, Tennessee, which is the home of Jack Daniels. But it's also a dry county. You can't buy any liquor there. And my dad was heading up an engineering project at the Tullahoma Arnold Air Force Station wind tunnel complex. And I was visiting my dad, and I figured, well, I'm going to see if Dave's available. So I called him up and I said, Dave, can I come out and interview you? He said, sure. So it's only 11 miles away. I get to his house and we're sitting down and we're talking about, and I wanted to interview him because he crashed a Blackbird and I was interested in Blackbird stuff, not necessarily UFOs or Area 51. But after we had finished the interview, we were just chewing the fat. And I said, Dave, do you believe in UFOs? He said, they absolutely positively do exist. And I was ready for him, when I say, do you want to expand upon that? I was ready for him to say, no, I can't. I said, Dave, want to expand upon that? And he said, sure. I said, oh boy.
Well,
and
there you go.
I didn't have my tape recorder going. I wish I did, but I didn't. But that's neither here nor there. He said he was flying a night training mission in an SR-71 out of Kadena, Okinawa, which was Detachment 1 of the 9th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing. Now it's just a reconnaissance wing. They took out the strategic part. And he's doing a night training mission, primarily because the Blackbird started out as the A-12 and then into the Air Force version, the SR-71. It was a VFR-only airplane. In other words, they only took off, flew, it did operational missions during the day. It did not have adverse weather radar capability or any even collision avoidance radar. It didn't have that. They just had it didn't have any radar. It was up there to take pictures. That's it. So Dave is on a night training mission. It's about 11 o'clock at night, 2,300 hours for those who don't live in Rio Vista. He's going straight. There's a 3/4 moon off his port side, and it's bright. There's no clouds up there. There's no pollution. The stars, the stars are just glaring at you. And all of a sudden, Dave said he got a glint of something that was 5,000 or 6,000 feet above him and 5 or 6 miles off to his right-hand side. And he thought maybe it was another SR-71. This thing was metallic. It had edges to it. It wasn't a smooth surface. It wasn't a saucer type, because he was getting glints off of various parts of this object off a real bright moon. So the aircraft was either metallic or it had just a shiny coating of some sort. He gets on secure voice and he calls Kadena, Okinawa, the command post there at Det 1. Asked if we had another bird up. And basically they told him, said, Dave, you were at the briefing. You're the only one up there. He said, well, no, I'm not. I'm going to go take a look. So without taking his eyes off the object, he pushes the throttles forward. Now, the SR-71, like all 50 of the manned Blackbirds, it wants to fly fast. At 78,000 feet at Mach 2.7 is where they were cruising. The airplane is barely in afterburner. It's at minimal throttle, and that's how they normally went to a assigned target over North Korea, North Vietnam, or wherever. So he advances the throttles, never takes his eye off the object, and he's climbing. And he's at about a 10-degree bank as he's climbing towards his object. And all of a sudden, his backseater gets on the intercom and said, hey, Dave, you see we got company? I said, yeah, I'm going to get a closer look. So when he figured he was still a couple of thousand feet below this object, and they were still a mile or two away. This thing took off and left him like he was heading the other direction. He estimates the speed at which it left him. Now he's going 2,100 miles an hour now. And the speed which it left him, he figured it was going between Mach 12 and Mach 16. So it was between 8 and 12,000 miles an hour. This is 1972.
Wow.
So when he retired and he ended up as a facility manager at Area 51, the one thing you don't do if you're dealing with black programs is you don't ask your friend that you know is working on a program other than what you're working on, hey, what are you working on? All they do is pull your security clearance and tell you to go home, and you're gone, and you'll never get back in that environment. So he said he was, he played it cool. He was there about a year, and he's in the it wasn't an officers club because everybody went in there, but it was at the club there at Area 51, and he started asking, do we have anything that can outrun an SR-71 that was built and designed and operated out here? And the question was, Not that we know of. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but you know, a lot of these programs are extremely classified, and the real spooky stuff, it flies on weekends when 90% of the people at Area 51, you know, all the support people and everybody working on their projects, when they leave, that's when they do the spooky stuff, because they'll make an announcement on a public address system. And I think all the ID cards were color coded, so they're easily identifiable from a distance. If you don't have a red ID card or a blue ID card or a green, you know, this is security badge, you're required to go into a windowless building. Because
how long do crafts stay classified typically? You know, how many years?
Well, the A-12, the original ox cart, the CIA version of the Blackbird, which I worked on, the program started in 1958. It was operational through June of '68, and it wasn't until 1988, after 20 years after it was retired, that the Air Force and CIA admitted the existence of the ox cart A-12 Blackbird.
Wow.
I mean, it was retired for 20 years.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff out there that, in my Skunk Works book that came out last year.
This great book, I have it right here. This one.
I identified, that's my pride and joy too. And it's also Lockheed. Lockheed is very, very happy with that book.
It's an amazing book.
I cover 43 different programs, starting with the XP-80, all the way up to the compact fusion reactor, which is probably the most incredible thing they're working on.
I had no idea they kept things classified for that long, and I guess it would make sense then that the Air Force and the Navy, they want to look at UFO reports to see if people are reporting our classified aircraft flying around in the skies, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's also a game with them. Being in charge of security makes you a very powerful person. And when the F-117 first started flying in June of '81, they figured that it'll be 15 to 18 months before someone photographs it, it's made public. Well, they hit 24 months and nothing. So, well, let's see how long we can keep it classified. There was no reason to keep it classified for 10 years, other than the fact that they were playing a stupid game, and it cost money. Ben Rich, who was someone I was blessed to have in my life, he told me that when you're dealing with a black program, a classified program, the cost of security for that black program adds 25% to the bottom line of that program.
Wow.
So if you have a $10 billion program, there's a large chunk of that in billions that are going towards just security. When they did the original Blackbird, there was 250 security people. When they built the F-117, there were 2,500 security people.
That's amazing.
Wow. I had no idea. Wow.
Go on, Chris.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish up, Jim, because I'm going to lead into the next question about Ben Rich.
Yeah, so I forgot where I was going on that. But other than the fact that things that are classified don't necessarily get declassified. I mean, there's stuff on the B-36. That's a strategic 10-engine bomber that we flew in the early 1950s. There's still stuff about the B-36 operations that's still classified top secret, and it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's a power thing.
Speaking about top secret, Jim, you were good friends with Ben Rich.
Yes.
And he was good friends with Kelly Johnson. So my first part of the question is, did you ever get a peek inside Lockheed Martin Skunk Works? And my second question is, Ben Rich told you a couple things before he passed away, God bless his soul, that absolutely, when I heard about it, knocked my socks right off. I mean, that we are so far advanced in what people think. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I've been in both the Skunk Works when I was at Burbank. I was in, Ben Rich invited me into his office. I had built a model, a quarter-inch model, it was about this long, of the Lockheed Skunk Works D-21 drone. It's called Tagboard. And that was the one that was more classified than the Manhattan Project when they were building it. And he brought me into his office, and I finally met his secretary, June, who I'd been talking to for years. I could call, like I said earlier, Ben, Rich, and I talked once a quarter. If I didn't call him, he called me. And I could call him up. His secretary, June, would answer the phone. Mr. Rich's office. I said, hi there. Because I always say hi there when, oh, Mr. Goodall. He said, just a second, I'll connect you with Mr. Rich. And he put me on speakerphone, and I could tell there's a whole room full of engineers in there, and they're doing something. And we've talked for 30, 45 minutes at a time. And this went on, say, for 20, from the early 70s up until he passed away. And one of the last conversations I had with Ben, first of all, I'm going to talk about what he said in 1993. He was at UCLA. It was the aeronautical school. It was graduate students, and he was the keynote speaker. And at the very end of his talk, and it was part of his prepared text, at the end of his talk, he said, we do have the ability to take ET home. Now think about that statement.
Wow.
1993, he said that we have the ability to take ET home. Now that wasn't on the Saturn V. Elon Musk wasn't around yet, and Bob Lazar was being ridiculed. So, what did that mean? And then 10 days before he passed away, I called him up at USC Medical Center. He was dying from esophageal cancer. And that was probably because he was breathing all the toxic chemicals used on the solvents for low observable coatings. Everybody that my friend who was on Papoose Lake said everybody that he knows that worked on the 117 program have all come up with cancers, typically polyps in your intestines, but lung cancer, esophageal cancer, and it's really bad stuff. He said, if you get a sniff of it, you're already damaged. But Ben was in there, he was fighting for his life, and I called him up, and we're talking about our mutual friend, John Andrews, who was one of the key people that testers used for, his job was designing plastic kits. He was also a good friend of John Lear's, and he introduced me to Lear, and that's how I met Lazar. And we're all sort of interconnected. But we were talking about stuff, and near the end of our conversation, he said, Jim, we have things out in the desert that's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend. Not what you think you can build in 50 years, but what you can envision, what you can comprehend. And this mind up here can envision an awful lot. And he said, and if you see movies like Star Trek or Star Wars, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort.
Holy
I said,
cow.
Ben, you want to expand upon that? And in Ben's typical fashion, he said, no.
Wow.
And he had the nerve to die on me 10 days later. So I never did. And he had promised once he finished his book with Leo Janos that he was going to do a no holds barred interview with me. But as it turns out, timing was never right. And I got one of the very, very last books that he autographed. And it was, he was at USC Medical Center when he sent it off to me. And it's, to Jim Goodall, the proud crew chief of number 128. That was the build number of my Blackbird, the A-12 that we had in Minnesota. That's now it's now on a stick at CIA. So here's the man who, of anybody on the planet, would have access and knowledge of really, really spooky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aviation.
Wow.
It would be Ben. And Kelly Johnson, actually with a group of engineers, saw a UFO in the 1950s, and he could never get an explanation as to why or what. And in June of '86, John Andrews, who was also on Ben Rich's frequently called list or letter writing list. He sent a letter to Ben on the beginning of a week. This is beginning of June of 86. He said, I have a question for you and Kelly, referring to Kelly Johnson. He said, there are two categories of UFOs. There's man-made and extraterrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in UFOs? And Ben came back on his corporate letterhead as president of the Lockheed Skunk Works. Said, Kelly and I are firm believers in both categories.
Oh, interesting.
We refer to ours as unfunded opportunities. It underlines the U, the F, and the O. They said, but beware, there are people who lead you astray and possibly, do you harm. So if something is unfunded, if you're in a government program and it doesn't cost you anything versus billions being spent on projects, that means it was either recovered or it landed on its free will, or it was a crash site of an alien spacecraft.
Wow. So Ben Rich, I said, question I have, I'm like Yoda. So Ben Rich basically believed that we did indeed back engineer from crashed alien craft.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Mind blown.
I mean, again, if
oh, there's my dogs. Their minds are blown too.
I thought that was my dog. Yeah. So there's just way too many. There's way too many things. My boss, Major General Wayne Gatlin, was on alert at Duluth Air Force Base in the mid 1950s. They had F-94Cs, which is the shooting star, and they Finley Air Force Station hit the klaxons at Duluth, the Duluth alert hangars, and they launched 3 F-94Cs. There was a fast-moving unknown over Lake Superior. Now, Lake Superior is the largest freshwater lake we have on this side of the earth, and it's very cold and very deep, and it creates its own weather. So they don't like people flying across it. You fly around, even a military aircraft, they'll fly around the perimeter versus flying across it, because it can create its own weather. And if you hit that water, it's 39, 40 degrees, midsummer. I mean, it's cold. But they got alert that Finley picked up something. It was a fast mover over they're out in the middle of Lake Superior. So they're they're launching and going as fast as they can. And they get a glimpse of this object, whatever it is. He couldn't figure out, never did see the size, other than he knew he could see there was something out there. And he's gaining on it. And the WISO, the weapons systems operator in the back seat, turns on his threat radar, his air-to-air weapons radar. And every time he'd turn it on and try to lock on, the radar would die. It would and just drop down. He'd pull the circuit breaker, reset it, turn it back on, scanning, got it locked on, it died. So there's this object is heading straight towards Finley Air Force Station. This is right on the shore, Lake Superior, the North Shore. And General Gatlin, at the time he was a major, he decided to go into full burner, which you can only do for about 90 seconds in a 50s vintage aircraft. It just consumes too much fuel. The Blackbird loves to be an afterburner, and it's more fuel efficient than not. But as they were approaching it, the thing's heading right towards Finley, and all of a sudden the Finley guys say, hey, it was coming towards us, but it didn't go past us. It just disappeared. And General Gatlin, squeezing to see what he can see, 15, 18 miles ahead of him. He said, well, probably the reason you can't see it, it's hovering right above your geodesic dome. The radar is.
Yeah.
So the guys might run out of the building and they didn't, all they saw was this thing just go whoosh, straight up. And we're talking about visibility unlimited. There's no pollution up there. It was I can't remember if it was a cold day or whatever, but the sky is so incredibly clear. Now you could lay in a grove of trees and look straight up, and you could during the day, and you can see really bright stars. So it's the sky is that clear and that bright, but it left him. So that's just one of many people that I respect that had a direct first person encounter with UFOs.
Wow.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
I want to ask. I was going to ask you a question about disclosure, but I got to ask you a question about John Lear. You're good friends with John Lear.
Yeah, and he's a character.
He's a character, and he had said some stuff. You hear some stuff and you go, "Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense." But then he throws this stuff that's way out in left field, where you go,
"Yeah,
wait a minute, what are you talking about? What? Tell us about John Lear a little bit." So we can wrap our heads around some of the stuff he's saying.
John Lear was more than willing to put his money where his mouth is. He's been investigating UFOs, interviewing. He would actually fly to cities where he's tracked down someone that's been abducted, and he's made arrangements to come and visit them, and that they have agreed to be hypnotized, and he would get a board certified professional hypnotist, someone who's trained in really deep hypnosis to pull out things that you don't want to remember. And he contacted and actually interviewed 15 abductees. Of those 15, now he would pay for the hypnotist himself. And I think he'd probably give them, the people a stipend of some sort just for their time. But there was nothing in it. There was nothing in it for the people that interviewed him other than I'm going to be hypnotized. How cool is that? And he said of the 15 abductees, and none of these had anything but ambient temperature IQs. Maybe some of them may have reached high 90s, low hundreds, but that was about it. And none of them knew each other. There was no connection between between the abductee and the other 15 or other 14 people that John had hypnotized. And of the 15, 13 had an exact, almost to the word experience.
That's incredible.
So he felt those were real. 2 of them, they were so full of bull that even under hypnosis, he's not even sure they were really hypnotized. And I've been hypnotized a number of times, and I'm not saying this because it's me, but they say the smarter you are, the easier it is to hypnotize you.
Huh? Why were you hypnotized? Did you think you had an encounter you didn't remember?
No, I wanted to quit smoking.
Oh.
I was smoking 3 packs of Cools a day.
And did it work?
It's been 43 years since I've had a cigarette.
Well, awesome. That's great.
And I'm very proud of that. I mean, my dad went cold turkey and he smoked he used 1 match in the morning. That was it. My dad went through 5 packs of Pall Mall a day. And when he taught at Stanford, they made the Board of Regents made a special change to their, to the rules at Stanford that my dad could smoke in class. And when he taught the class, and also because of that, his students could smoke in class, but they had to bring their own ashtray and they had to take it with them. And they had to make sure the butts went in a butt can.
Oh, jeez.
It was real easy. I mean, I went in there and it was only 1 session. And Doc Weir, who is a buddy of mine, he's a retired brigadier general. He's an anesthesiologist in my unit. And he said, hypnotism only works about 2 or 3 months on something like that. He said, you really, really wanted to quit smoking. I said, yeah, I did it for my son. And I've never touched cigarettes since. I had 3 uncontrolled responses, 2. Jumped in a car about 10 days later and my finger hit the cigarette lighter. I said, what the hell am I doing that for? And then about a week later, I jumped in my car and I go like that looking for my butts and they weren't there. And I said, oh, I don't smoke anymore. And those were the only 2 cigarette responses I had. And I smoke weed. And it's never caused me to want to smoke cigarettes.
Did you enjoy it, Jim? Did you like it?
What, weed?
Yeah,
absolutely. Now I have, and I have a medical marijuana card,
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me that.
No, I'm gonna tell you.
What do I care? I'm not gonna. What am I? I'm not a cop anymore. I don't have to worry about that.
You were.
No, but I had 9.5 hours of brain surgery the day Challenger blew up. I was on the operating room table for 11 hours. And the result, I live with a headache. Scale of 1 to 10, I always have a 4 headache, which for 36 years, all it is during the day is white noise. I don't hear it during the day, but when I'm trying to go to sleep. So I smoke weed at night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't smoke weed and drive, but I like it.
Well, we have a question. Do you think aliens are pro weed? The ETs.
I would have to say yes.
Yes.
They're pro-human. So and I don't think alien presence on our planet is a threat. If it's a threat, we would have known it by now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to.
Well, speaking of aliens and alien threat, you mentioned stuff about disclosure. You got your own theory about disclosure. What's that?
I don't think we are in charge of the dissemination, validating that UFOs and aliens have been visiting this planet forever. I mean, since we became inhabitable. Now, earlier I mentioned, and I can't even remember if I went through this part. I worked at Kitt Peak as a docent for a couple of years, and just before I left, and correct me if I've already said this because
no, go.
Okay. And just before I left being a docent, we had a pizza party at the NOAO, which is the National Optical Astronomy Observatory at the University of Arizona here in Tucson. And all astronomers, technicians, and docents were asked to attend this pizza gathering after hours, and that we were going to have a gentleman, one of the head people of astronomy for the National Science Foundation. And gentleman got up and was talking. He said he just returned from a worldwide conference on exoplanets, and every place that was investigating exoplanets, everywhere there was a space telescope, they were there, and they were sharing notes and using proven mathematical formulas and such. He said that the conclusion they came to, that for every star in the universe, that's a whole lot of stars, there's 1.5 planets. And out of that incredible number of planets, they calculate, again, using proven mathematical formulas and such, that there are 2 billion, and that's what the B, 2 billion Earth-like planets orbiting a similar size brown dwarf star as our sun in the inhabitable zone with liquid water. Mm-hmm. And to quote Jodie Foster's character in Carl Sagan's Contact, if we're the only ones, what a waste of space.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Man, this time has flown by. We only have a few minutes. I wanted to talk about your books because I have so many of them and they're excellent. The SR-71, let's see, with the Skunk Works, this one is a treasure. Everybody should have a copy of that on their table. And then this is the B-28 Spirit Stealth Bomber book. And then your SR-71 Blackbird book. This one here, this one is amazing. So yes, I mean, you should have the whole Jim Goodall collection. Everybody should. They're amazing books. What do you have planned? Is there anywhere people could come see you in the near future?
Well, there's Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio is having a gathering of like-minded people in Las Vegas on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of April next month.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be at the Gold Nugget downtown. And on Saturday, there's going to be about 15 or more of us on the stage for question and answer.
Oh, wow.
You have.
Where can we get information about that? That sounds amazing.
you have all the information I have. You already have. I just gave it to you. Dave Scott at Spaced Out Radio is the point of contact.
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot of people like you and I out there, and and anybody who has a question will have someone there who could probably answer that question. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for over 50 years, but I've never really been up until 2019. So it's been going on 4 years now. I was never immersed into the UFO community, and I feel so at home here.
Yay!
I feel so comfortable. I mean, I've met one or two jackasses, and I think I won't say their names, but you'll all agree who the jackasses are. I've been welcomed. I feel good around them, and what amazes me is I don't know how I came up with the status, my celebrity status that I allegedly I have now. I just I like airplanes. I like things that go bump in the night. I'm a machine guy. I like machines. I like big trains. I had a chance to see the Union Pacific Big Boy come through Tucson here last year. That was thrilling. Maybe it was 2 years ago. That's why I joined the Air Force. That's why I write the books I do. That's why I was a restoration manager for Museum of Flight, and I was the curator at Pacific Aviation Museum and a founding member of the Minnesota Air Guard Museum. That's why I got the Blackbird Forum. So it's just it's a passion of mine I've had since I was a little kid. Now I didn't say how I started out in my passion with airplanes, but I will.
Well,
if we got a minute,
we only got like 15 seconds. 15 seconds left. So I want to thank you for being here. Will you come back on the show?
Absolutely.
Because I just didn't even touch on so many things. So we would love to have you back. And of course, the UFO community embraces you. You've had a fascinating life and know fascinating people, and you know so much. So, man, we're lucky to have you part of our community. And I want to thank Amanda Curran, our co-producer, for her awesome photos, and to Bill Skywatcher and to Chris DePerno and Katie, we miss you. Hopefully you'll come back next week. We have Deb Jordan next week, and Jim Goodall. Thank you so much for being here, and please come back. And good night to all our listeners.
And thank you for the invite.
You got it, Jim. Anytime.
Y'all take
care.
Bye, y'all.